It's very snowy here in Ohio. Snowy and cold. Going to get colder. It's a good cozy studio day. Hello, hello, hello. Nice to see you all. Hi. Thanks for coming. It's so excited to see everybody, my goodness. Hi, 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 hi. Hello, hello, Love Shine Jewelry. Oh, this is always so hard for me to see you guys with my old eyes. It's nice to see everybody. Hello, hello. Hi, Kelly. Hi, friends. Hi, Mafalda. How are you? Goodness gracious. Oh my goodness, Renus. Hi, all the way from the Netherlands. Hello, hello, hello. Well, Latvia. No, not the Netherlands, Latvia. Hello. Hi. It's so nice to see everybody. Thank you for coming. Welcome into my studio. Hi, Tanya. Hello on the pass from Chicago. Hey, where is everybody? Let me know where you all are real quick. I'm always interested to see this. Thank you for coming. Welcome to my studio. I'm going to get nerdy and talk about tools. We can talk about tools today. It's always fun to talk about tools. Unless you're not a jeweler, and then it's super boring. Hello, Michael, from snowy Boulder, Colorado. It's very snowy here, too. I'm in Ohio, and it's very snowy here. From Portugal, Turkey. Goodness. So Magic Studio. I'm living in Los Angeles. Hi. Hello. Reno, Nevada. Can you all hear me okay? I'm using this fancy new microphone, and I'm hoping you can hear me. I got a heart. Does that mean you can hear me? From Montana. Nice. Hi, everybody. Thank you for coming. I'm not doing anything. I'm just sitting here looking at my screen. I'm sorry. People are like, I'm out. But it is very nice to see all of you. And I'm just looking for names that I recognize. So many of you pop in and out of my comments and DMs. So it's nice to see everybody here. Queen Street, Sterling. Yes, Mafalda says she can hear. Okay, good. Thanks, guys. So I don't know what y'all want to talk about today. I thought we could talk about files to start. Files is one of those really basic things that a lot of jewelers sort of don't really think about when they're getting started. So if you're starting out, we can talk about the different cuts. That confused me when I got started. And Rio Grande is offering a discount code for their Friedrich Dick files. Let's see, what's the code? Rio Files 10, RIOFILES 10, the number 10, which is a pretty great deal. So if you've been thinking about adding files to your collection and your tools, now is a good time to do it. I just did it. I just got some different cuts because, believe it or not, I've been using the same one hand file and 5-piece needle file set since I started. And the hand file was a number 2 cut for hogging out a lot of metal. And the needle files are a number 5. And I didn't realize until recently that it takes a long time to remove material with a number 5. So I just got some number 2 needle files too. So that's kind of fun. But if you have any questions you want to talk about files, put them in the chat and I'll hopefully answer or tell you what I use, show you around my studio a little bit. One of the things that kind of shocked me when I first started working in metals was that all of my tools got rusty really fast. And I was just uneducated. I had no idea about how to care for tools. And so I'm in Ohio and it's very humid here, and my studio is subterranean, which means it also draws a lot of moisture in this Ohio climate. And so I am not able to leave I'm not able to leave files just lying around. I have to keep them in drawers and covered. And so yeah, we can talk about that stuff too, like proper storage of files and care for files. One of the things that I like to do to protect my files is I use these little desiccant tablets that come in like shoe boxes or medication bottles. And I just have some of these in all of my jewelry bench drawers. And it does a pretty good job of keeping the moisture out. So, but then just having them covered also helps a lot too. But hi, I'm gonna show my face for like one more second just to greet everybody and say hello. And then I'm gonna flip the camera around so that maybe we can look at some tools. We can also walk around the studio if you would like, but let me flip if I can, my goodness. Hey, I did it. All right. Welcome to my bench. This is my bench. This is the view that I see many hours of the day. You can see, let's see, I've got my grandma and my mom and my great grandma and my aunt all in this little picture here. That's not relevant. We're not talking about family photos, are we? We're talking about files. So I will show you, I have a beloved file. You know how we all kind of fall in love with our tools. So this is the very first file I ever bought. Oh boy, there we go. And this is a Friedrich Dick #2 half round hand file. And you can see it's pretty well burnished. And I've been using it for a super long time and about 10 years. And this thing is just a workhorse. I first got this because I was casting. I don't really use that in my practice anymore. But when I was casting, I really needed a good, coarse, aggressive file. I was doing ring casting, and I needed to remove a lot of material quickly. And someone had recommended that I get a half round, because if you're on a budget and you're starting out, a half round file is great because you can do a lot with it. Because it's got the flat surface and the rounded surface. So you can get inside of a ring, or you can do the outside of a ring. You can do sheet. These are super great. So if you're a beginner and you're looking for like a budget conscientious file to get, a half round hand file is really great for just removing a lot of material fast. Like I said, this is a #2 German cut, which is pretty darn aggressive. And if you don't know about cuts, the lower the number, the coarser the cut. So if you're shopping for files, you'll see a #2 cut, a #3 cut, a #4 and 5. I think Swiss cut files, there's two like units of measurement, so to speak, or scales. There's German and Swiss. I think Swiss has more degrees of variation between them. So if you really need something in between a 3 and a 4, you can probably find it in a Swiss file. Let me see if I can move my camera a little bit so it stops like flipping around on me. 1 second. There we go. Okay, maybe this will be a little bit better. Yeah, that's better. So yeah, this is the very first file I ever got. Like I said, it's a Friedrich Dick. I got it from Rio Grande. And I think this might have been the first thing I ever bought from Rio Grande too. Or maybe it was my bench pen. I don't know, but you know, we get sentimental about our tools. So anyway, this little half round is a great little workhorse. Admittedly, I don't clean my files as much as I should. I know some folks will file and then tap. But a lot of people don't like to do that, like me, because I'm a little bit lazy when I'm working. You know, it's not that I'm lazy. I just get super focused and intent on the task, and I don't want to stop to do maintenance-y types of things. I'm going to scroll back here and see if anyone has any questions. I'd love to hear about your favorite pliers and flush cutters. Yeah, I can get those out. I'll get those out in just a second. I have some very, very favorite flush cutters that I'd be happy to tell you about. Let's see, I'm just scrolling back. Let me know if you have any file questions, if you have questions about cut or care. But yeah, so I know some folks don't believe this is real, but the manufacturer does recommend that you file in one direction. So that's something that a lot of folks don't know starting out. So you would think that you can just do this and get twice as much work done by filing in both directions, but you really can't do that. This is one of the first things that you learn as a beginning jeweler, but just for anyone who doesn't know, you do need to only go in one direction and then lift and reseat and lift and reseat. So that's really what you want to be doing, because you can damage the teeth on the file. Some people say that's not true. I think it all depends on how long you want your files to last. So if you want to just go nuts and not lift out of, you only cut on this direction, right? It only works on this direction. But if you, don't want to take that extra time to lift and reseat, you could just do this. It's only going to cut on this direction, and it is going to wear out your files faster. But if you want to buy new files sooner, no big deal. You can do that. So yeah. Aren't these pretty? Like I said, these are the, let me see if I can show you, because I love this logo. I'm not going to be able to show you. Look at that cute little logo. Look at that little arrow. Isn't it adorable? Look. Adorable. So, and then this is a set that, so this is, I was saying what I had for a million years was these needle files. And what I didn't know is that I had purchased a number 5 needle file when I was starting out. That is so fine that I think I probably wasted a good 2 years of my life filing, not realizing that these were such a fine cut that it was taking a million years to clean up things. But, oh yeah, Jonesing for Jewelry is saying, I appreciate that your files also don't have handles. Yeah, I hate those handles, I have to say. I did get an estate box of jeweler's tools, and one of the things that was in there was these little handles. If you really have sensitive hands, and you don't have beat up calloused jeweler's hands like I do, and like I'm sure Corinne Jones also has, you can get these and they just twist on, and then you have a little handle. But I always feel like it's just like not enough control. I just don't like this big crazy handle. And I have found that the more years I did this, at first it bothered me, but the more years I did this little thing that happens here when you're filing, it doesn't bother me, and I don't hold it like this anyway. I hold it like this typically, and I kind of choke up on it. So this thing doesn't even poke into me. And I also don't have handles on my needle files either, which I know some folks like that too. But yeah, these are the new Frederick D. I cannot say this. I'm such an American. Friedrich Dick files. These are number 2 cut. And so I finally, you guys, I'm going to save so much time. I finally invested in another set. So these are number 2s. And like I said, I don't like, you can get little handles that are like a little nub, little wood nub that go on here. And you can get handles that go all the way up. I just hate them. It just feels bulky to hold on to me for some reason. I just don't feel like I've got control. So, I like to go without handles, live dangerously. Let's see, who else? I want to make sure I'm not missing anyone. The thin file cleans well on the mines. I'm not sure what that means. Maybe you mistyped. Bill Bilgan, let me know what you meant by that. Nami says, great voice, would be a great teacher. I don't know about that, but thank you. May I ask where you learned engraving? I learned engraving by taking one-on-one lessons with engravers in my area. You can also take classes from Ray Cover's School of Fine Art Engraving in Missouri. You can take classes at GRS in Emporia, Kansas. That's pretty much, you can also go out to California and take classes with Jeff Park. But I just learned one-on-one because I didn't want the expense of flying somewhere. And so I found engravers that were local to me and took one-on-one, like 2-day classes with them. And it saved me a lot of money because I didn't have to travel. And if you dig around and you ask around, you can always find an engraver who is quietly has a studio near you and you just didn't know it, that you can learn from. So that is where I learned engraving. Anyway, so yeah, this is the first set that I have. And, you know, if you've been a jeweler for a while, you know this, but if you're a beginner, you wouldn't know this. These sets come with all these different cuts and shapes. And then, you know, obviously you match the file to the shape of the work that you're doing. And I love these safety files, which means there are no teeth on one side of these files. And so if you're working in some kind of a weird spot, like up against a bezel, for example, where you don't want to chew that up and you don't want the teeth to mar the surface, you can use safety files like this. I have a handful of these too. And then some files, though, that are not safety files, not only do they have teeth on both sides, but they also have teeth on the edges, which is great if you need to do something like this, but if you want to protect this surface, you don't want that. So you can also get little escapement files. Friedrich Dick has little tiny escapement files that like watchmakers like to use that are about half the size of these and they're thinner. So if you do really fine work, those are super cool. I haven't really needed them in my practice, but I know a lot of people really like them. Let me see, who else? Exposing the tip of the file to heat helps it enter the handle. Yes, I have seen, thanks Laduna.sa. I've seen people do that. It's pretty cool. I have never done it. I don't know, it always intimidated me, but when I learned engraving, Brian Powley, one of the folks that I was learning from, just grabbed a graver and set it into a wooden burr handle like these. And he just heated the heck out of it and stuffed it in there and it smoked. And I was like, oh, okay, that's how we do it. I had no idea. But yeah, that's pretty cool. Sorry, the camera keeps on flipping back and forth between micro and wide shot. But yeah, so these are the little needle files. They're about 6 inches long. They're great. And I have 3 of these now. And I just wanted a better variety. So I have a number 2 and I think a 3 and a 5. I've forgotten what I got. But I just wanted kind of like more steps in between the coarseness. But yeah, I got along with this for a long time. Just for really removing, like shaping metal and removing a lot of material quickly. It's pretty great. It's great for casting because, you know, you have to file down that sprue and, you know, of course you could use a power tool, but I'm a hand tool girl for some reason. So anyway, yeah. So I'm excited to try these new ones. These number 2 Friedrich Dick files. I should mention again, Rio has a sale. So if you're wanting to add some more files to your bench, or if you're a beginner, let me see, the code is Rio Files 10 until the end of January. You can get 10% off on all Friedrich Dick files on the Rio site. So that's RIOFILES and the number 10 promo code that you can enter when you're checking out on Rio, and you'll get 10% off your Friedrich Dick files. So that's a good opportunity to add some more files, and that is exactly what I did. So now I've got a better variety. Oh, you guys want to talk about these things? So I hate these, and I love these. This is a file card. It's used for cleaning your files. I hate them because they hurt. I somehow always jam my hand into these things, and that's awful. But they serve a very important purpose. I'll show you on this that hasn't been cleaned in quite a while. But this is how you use these. You just follow the cut and you do this. So that's how you clean. Just hold it down on a heavy surface and do this, if you didn't know. You can see this guy needs cleaning. You can tell that this is not rust, this is probably brass. So I've been doing a lot of work with brass lately. So it's more brass than rust. But yeah, that's a great way to get more life out of your file. I know some folks like to use cutting lube for their files, and there's a hot debate about that. My take on it is no, because I think it just gums it up. It catches all those little filings and they get stuck down in there. So I don't think it's necessary. Some people say it extends the life. Let's see if there's any other questions. Such an incredibly gorgeous studio. Well, thank you. I love my studio. It is my sanctuary. Kelly says, I took a file work class and learned a lot about cuts and types of files. It helps to spend money on good files too. Absolutely. I mean, like I had said, this Friedrich Dick file I have had for a decade, and it just won't quit. Granted, I am filing brass, silver, bronze, occasionally copper for enameling, and those are pretty darn soft metals. But if you're filing steel, or if you're filing platinum, you know, these are going to wear out a lot faster. But that's just the way it is. It's not a fault of the file. It's a factor with the material that you're filing. Let's see. Nemi says, do you do both pneumatic and hand push? We're talking about engraving again. I do both. I do hand push for line Bellino. I just think it's easier to control and get those really fine, delicate lines. And then I use a Lindsay pneumatic hand engraver. What am I saying? Lindsay pneumatic engraver for my pneumatic assistants. This is my little Lindsay. It's my best buddy right now. I use it a lot for a lot of hours at a time. Let's see who else has some questions. I took an ornamental jewelry engraving class at New Approach in Nashville. I've heard such good things about New Approach. That's awesome. I bet it was great. Let's see. I always forget, like there's a handful of engraving schools and I forget about all of them. Let's see, Rena says, have to look into those files. Would love to decorate and engrave watch movements. Escapement files would be great. Yeah, I've seen what you're doing with your watch face engraving. That's really exciting. And yes, those little escapement files. I don't have any because I've never needed them, but the escapement files, you know, this is like a typical needle file. I believe the escapement files, they have a little bit of a longer tang, and then the cutting area is much shorter and thinner. You can see how thick these are. Those are even thinner. I'd like to have some of those just because I like to have tools, but you know, you have to prioritize from time to time instead of just buying all the tools all the time, which is something I do tend to do a lot. But let me see. What is everybody asking? If you get rust, how do you prefer to remove it? I have watched videos on doing this, and it kind of scares me. I've never done it. What I do is try to avoid it and just keep them clean with the files and these little desiccant tablets in my drawers. But I have seen people use vinegar, and I have seen people use stuff called like Rust Off or something like that, and you soak them in that stuff for a while, and then you scrub them with a wire brush. I have never had to do it, so honestly, I can't add much to that. I'm sorry. But I would think a wire brush should do a good job to get you started. Like a soft wire brush, not a file card, but like a brass brush. I think that would probably be all right as a start. Let's see. Who else? Never enough tools. Totally true, Rainus. Never enough tools. Hi, Laura Botan. Hi. I never know how to say your name. I'm sorry. Yeah, so let's see. What else can we talk about? One of the things, if you're newbie, that you should be aware of is, let me turn this down a little bit. Don't do this in your drawers. You know, it'll damage the teeth on the files. And so you want to keep them separated. So when you get this little sleeve from Rio or, you know, if you order these, they'll come in a little case. Keep them in the case because you don't want them all rubbing against each other in the drawer. For the hand files, some of these over the years, I've either lost the sleeve they came in or, you know, I have like a fool thrown them away. So I buy nail files from the drugstore also for hand finishing my work. I love using nail files for hand finishing and emery boards, I guess I should say. And when I get those, I keep the little sleeve that they come in and I put my files, my hand files in those. And I keep them in the drawer that way. And that way it just keeps them all tidy and separated. So that's an important thing to do. So I have a little collection of these too. What else can we talk about? I don't have anything else. Files are kind of like pretty straightforward. It's just, you got to understand that the cuts, you know, the lower the number, the coarser the cut. And Swiss and German, Swiss offers more fine gradients between cuts, as I understand it. And so you can, I'm not an expert by any means, but this is what I understand, is that you can get those Swiss files if you're doing some very particular work and you need, for your practice, those like mid gradations between the German cuts. Like German is, I guess, 2, 4, 5, I don't know. I can't remember, you guys. I can't remember numbers. I'm terrible at that. But, you know, you'll just, the only thing you really need to remember is you need kind of like a little bit of a variety. And if you have to pick a set to start, if you're just starting out, this is what I would suggest. I would suggest an 8-inch hand file like this in half round shape, a middle cut, just so that it kind of does everything for you. And you can expand that to include other cuts as you build your practice and build your studio. And then, you know, a 5 or 6 piece set like this of needle files. They also have, I think, 10-piece sets. These are pretty affordable in the grand scheme of jewelry tools, you know, so I would say get yourself a middle cut of these two to start out if you're just beginning, and this will have you pretty well set for everything that you need to get started. Does anybody have any questions? The brand I use. Oops. Oh gosh, sorry, I almost hung up on everybody. Oh, the flush cutters. Yes. Sure, let's talk about those. So, Lindstrom flush cutters. These are called, I think, Perfect. Why do I have so many pairs of these? Nobody knows. Wait, hold on. Let's just round out the set. Why? Okay, well, I do know why. So I love these Lindstrom flush cutters. These are fantastic. They give you practically perfect cut. And you only have to do like one swipe of a needle file and you've got a perfect little bezel edge, you know? So that's why these are so great. The downside is you can't cut heavy wire with these. And ask me how I know, because the little red tape on this handle is a reminder that this is the set I broke by being lazy, and instead of sawing a piece of, I don't know, 14 gauge wire or something, I tried to nip it on the end with this, and it broke the tip. And if you, oh, look how dirty these are. Guys, I'm sorry. I've had this for a long time, probably as long as that other file. But yeah, you can pretty easily break the tips of these off. They're not meant for like heavy duty flush cutting. If you are doing heavy duty flush cutting, I know a lot of folks like these. What is it? Kiba. But these things will, I think I've cut like 10 gauge wire with these. It's probably not advisable, but you can get a little crazy with these, and they'll pinch. You know, these will get you a pinch like. Let me see if I can show you. These will get you a pinch. Oh, these have been filed. Shoot. You know, here's a giant exaggerated. You know, you'll get a little pinch, but it's still a little faster than cutting with a saw. But I don't know. I usually end up just cutting with a saw, to be honest, when I'm getting that heavy, just because it's just as fast, and you get a nice clean edge that you don't have to file. Because, you know, once you start filing the edge of a thick piece of wire, it's really easy to get out of true, and then you have a different problem on your hands. Let's see. What else do we have? Let's see. Kathleen says, I sharpened these myself if broken with a diamond disc. Good on you. I should do that, but instead I take every opportunity to just collect tools. And so I bought more. So here we are. But it's genius. I mean, it's nice to have a sacrificed pair. You know, that's why I didn't get rid of these. Just, you know, for more, you know, for cutting brass and things like that. It's just nice to have kind of a pair of like workhorse ones. So I didn't get rid of them. But I do really love these Lindstrom flush cutters. These are awesome. Let's see. What's everybody else saying? Yeah, we don't have any other questions. Any other questions? Anything? Anything about my studio, my practice, my tools? You guys are doing a great job keeping me company. Look at this silver I bought. I haven't done anything with it yet. I don't even know why I bought it. Do you do that? Like, I get an idea in the middle of the night, and then I get on the Rio site, and then I start buying stuff, and then I get it like 2 weeks later, because I live all the way on the other side of the country. Not 2 weeks later, I'd say a week. And then I can't remember because I've moved on. I think I had thought I was going to forge these somehow into like really rough signet rings or something. I just got a rolling mill, so I was probably thinking I was going to do something nutty with a rolling mill. But I think this is 2 gauge, 2 gauge silver wire. That's a little bit crazy. What was I doing? I don't know. I know you guys do the same thing. Don't try to say you don't. I know you do. You get these things, then you're like, what was I going to do with this? I don't know. Someone's asking, do you save the live? Yes, I will save this to my account. I think, oops, sorry, keep touching the microphone. I think this will be available 30 days on my profile page. So if you missed the beginning, you'll be able to watch that. Anybody have any other questions? Anybody want to see anything in my studio? Y'all are so fun on live. It's fun to connect with people all over the world. What else you want to talk about? Buying silver in the middle of the night. Perfect, says Mafalda. Yeah, really not advisable. Not advisable, but I do that. I do that. I think it's still a thing. You know, these are those little cheap things that are made of pine, but I hate the way they look because they look super cheap. So I stained it to match my bench because this is just the world I live in. I drive myself crazy. What's the weirdest thing in the studio? Oh, Rainus, that's a good question. Well, there happens to be something right here that is probably one of the weirdest. These. Let's just talk about these. I'm going to ask first if anybody wants to guess what these are. Guess what these are? What's in here? And why would I have them? Anybody want to guess? I'm waiting. Someone asked, Rainus asked, wonderful engraver, asked, what's the weirdest thing I have in my studio? And I'm about to tell you. Oh, you guys are right. It's dirt. But the question is, why do I have dirt? Well, so when I was in my 20s, I took a cross-country road trip to Utah. And Utah is one of my favorite places in the whole world. And that was the first time I'd ever been. And I came back, and a few years later, my grandmother, who she's the one I kind of got the road trip bug from. I think she visited every state by driving. And, well, you know, the states that you can drive to. And she was taking another road trip and asked what she could bring back for me. And I didn't want my grandma to think she had to spend even a penny on a souvenir for me. So I asked her to bring me back some dirt because I had such a love of the Southwest. And the thing, I was joking, but my grandma was such a baddie that she took these jars with her just for the point of bringing back some dirt. And I believe this one is Arizona, and I think this one is New Mexico. So these are jars of dirt from my grandmother who, gosh, I lost her probably 16 years ago. Loved her so much. Spent a lot of time on her farm growing up, and her antique Victorian poetry books are why I wanted to learn to engrave. So anyway, these are from my grandma, and these are jars of dirt. So y'all guessed right. I guess it wasn't quite as much of a mystery as I thought it was going to be. That's probably the weirdest thing in my studio. This is also pretty weird. This is something I recently acquired. I couldn't resist it because it was like $8 or something. But it's an old apothecary container for acid. And I just think it's cool. Like, look how creepy it is. I have a creepy penchant. I think y'all know that. I like some of the Victorian stuff, and that stuff just inherently is kind of creepy, I think. But like this little hand. I love that little hand. All right, let's see. Such a cool grandma. She was awesome. Like, she was so cool. Let's see. Special, yeah, okay. You guys were all guessing. Let's see. Oops, special dirt and sand. Yep, you guys had it. Clay to protect solder. Well, you know what? That would work. But instead of clay to protect solder, I use, hold on. I use yellow ochre. I love this stuff, and I use it like on every solder joint almost to keep solder from reflowing. So yeah, little vials of, this is enough yellow ochre to last 10 jewelers 5 lifetimes. I don't know why I have so much of it, but yeah, that's great. But you know what? The dirt would work too. The dirt would work too. Let's see. Hugo says, any engraving tips for those who never tried it? I don't live in the U.S., so it's a little difficult to find anyone to teach. Is silver a good metal to try? Gosh, there's so much to unpack with that question. Great question. I would ask you, where are you? Because that'll help me answer that question a little bit. Engraving tips for those who never tried it. Well, if you can afford pneumatic engraving equipment, I would suggest starting there if you can. It's pricey. It's a pricey entry point. So I would say take a class if you can. I know that it sounds like maybe this is not an option for you, but generally if you can take a class where you can try the pneumatic tools, it's kind of great because then you can you can get a feel for whether you're going to be any good at it or not, or if it's something you're going to want to continue with. And if you do that, then you can decide to invest in the equipment. But pneumatic engraving equipment makes learning 100 times faster than if you just tried to learn hand push. That said, it is certainly viable to learn hand push first, if that is something that you want to do. And you know, that means you're literally going to get, these are huge. These are antique tools. I love these. But you're going to get, wait, let me show you. This is a better one. So, you know, you can get these wood handled burns and graver blades, learn to sharpen them. And that yellow ochre got all over me. You know, you can practice cutting hand push. It's just really hard to master the muscle control and an understanding of the depth and the speed and all that stuff. It's pretty tough to do hand push engraving. But you know what? It's certainly a great place to start if you're on a budget and you just want to tinker. So you could minimally invest in a cheap ball vise and some hand push tools and give it a shot, you know. But I do think taking a class is so key if you can at all figure out how to do it. It was one of those things that, you know, I'm self-taught in a lot of things. I don't have a degree in metals. I've just learned from workshops and things. And I'm kind of a self-starter in some techniques where I just kind of like, well, you know, I'll just figure it out. Engraving isn't really one of those things, I think, for most people. I think you kind of have to take a class. You have to have somebody there watching your hands and your body and teaching you how to sharpen. That's another piece of advice I would give you, is that just go into it knowing you're going to have to learn to sharpen the gravers. And that's kind of not very exciting, but it's, you know, you have to do it. And also just go to it with a lot of patience, because it has easily taken me 10 times as long to learn to engrave than any other technique I've ever learned in my studio. It's just, you just have to practice a lot. Let's see. Michael says, I have Moab red dirt in a jar from 20 years ago too. Moab is I literally have a Moab bumper sticker on my car. It's a magical place. Let's see. The bronze hand is beautiful. I know, isn't that great? It's so great. I think it's brass. I'm not sure. I absolutely adore that. It's an original antique. Let's see. What else everyone's saying? Dirt adjacent question. Do you use molding clay for soldering? The $50 price gives me pause. Well, I think I have some. Is this what you're talking about? I've never used it. So I love the idea of it, but I just go back to my third arms time and again, or, you know, those weird little things that we all do where we jostle things around and prop things up and bind things with wire. That's just kind of like what I do for my soldering. So I don't know. I know some people like it. I just think I don't know. I guess maybe if you're doing stuff that you feel like you need it for, then it's probably worth it. Most things, I don't think you need it. But it all depends on the kind of work that you do. Oh, hi, Sarah. I hope you're still here. Who needs degrees when you have? Oh, my goodness. Talent. True. I mean, I think that that's true. And also ambition. Talent and ambition. You don't need a degree if you want it bad enough. Okay, Hugo says he's in Brazil. In the city where I live, there are no courses about engraving, but I'll look for it in other states. Thank you. Yeah, I know. It's tough. It is one of those dying arts, unfortunately, that can be kind of difficult to find a place to learn. If you can make your way over to the States, there's, 4 or 5 jewelry schools. I shouldn't say schools, but engraving classroom type setups where you can go and learn from there. Anything else? Anybody have any questions before we hop off? Happy to show you anything you want to see. Anything you're interested in? Oh, you would ask Hugo about silver. Engraving in silver is like, Paul, hi, I'm glad you're here, Paul Lowe. Engraving in silver is not ideal because it's really soft. So for learning to engrave, it's actually easier to engrave harder metal, which is something that kind of took me some time to wrap my head around. But that is why I like to engrave. Let me grab something for you. Let's see. I like to engrave on BRB. Hold on. I like to engrave in jeweler's brass. It's cheap and it's kind of pretty as a finished product. You can incorporate it into your work, and it's harder than because there's zinc in jeweler's brass, and so it makes the material harder. So it fights back against your graver diving too deep. So I really like engraving in brass. Many, if not most engravers that I know actually engrave in steel because they're firearms engravers, or they engrave pocket tools and things like that. So they work in steel a lot, and they love it because it's so hard, or titanium. So that's kind of cool that folks like to engrave in that too. Like I said, it took me a long time to figure out that the softer the metals are, the harder they are to engrave, more difficult they are to engrave. So like copper's pretty gummy. Silver's gummy. I'm accustomed to it now because I've been engraving a lot in silver. But I have to say that engraving in brass is much more pleasant because you can get some really nice, crisp hairlines in brass. So let me see if there's any other questions. Paul is saying, I have to send you some titanium. I'm positive you'll find it the most pleasurable to engrave. You know what? I totally would love that. You're the best. Send me some titanium. I'll give it a shot. Really, the reason I haven't used titanium is because I fabricate most of what I engrave. And I'm not going to try to fabricate titanium. And so... but I have been doing, I'll show you something I'm working on right now. Oh, you guys, I'm going to remind you, wait, hold on. I have to remind you of this Rio discount code. We were talking about files and I completely wandered off. If you're wanting to buy files until the end of January, there is a discount code on the Rio website. If you put Rio Files 10 on checkout, you'll get 10% off Friedrich Dick files until the end of January. So don't forget that. Right, so this is a little sculpting engraving that I'm working on, and this is all in silver. And I'm getting used to how to get kind of fine detail into silver. But it's so soft, it's almost too soft to engrave on. Certainly it's totally fine to do so, but if you're splitting hairs and you're wanting to know what kind of metal is the most pleasant to engrave on, the harder metals are more pleasant. Let's see if there's any other questions. Sarah says, I do have to say I don't hate aluminum as much as I used to. No, you don't really? You don't mean that. Sarah, clarify. That can't mean aluminum. You can't mean aluminum. You must mean titanium. Same here. It's not hard to fabricate, as you imagine. Really? Titanium is not difficult to fabricate. Like you solder titanium? I don't even know how to go about that. Do tell. This is interesting. Kathleen says, do you seal the brass with a sort of varnish or just high polish against patinas? I get that question a lot. I've done a number of different things. Sometimes I seal it with, oh my goodness. I've forgotten what it's called. There's a spray sealant that everybody uses, clear, not Everclear. Everclear makes it. One of you will know and put it in the chat, I'm sure. But it's made for like brass instruments and things like that. And it's made for high touch jewelry. I still wouldn't try it on a ring shank or anything like that because it's going to wear off really fast. But, like the front of a pendant or something like that, you can seal it with that. You can dip it in a liquid version or you can spray it. So you can do that and it'll keep it nice and bright. But inherently, I kind of like bristle against doing that. It's just sort of like not my vibe. I don't even know what I mean by that. I just kind of like to let the brass do what it's going to do. And I let it age down and then it is what it is. And it'll pretty much, if you've worked with brass, it oxidizes really fast and it turns a darker, orangier color. Jeweler's brass ages much more nicely. And I just leave it there. And I've tried sealing it with Renaissance wax. It doesn't work. So I just let it be what it's going to be instead of fighting against it. And then it looks like an old piece of brass. And I don't mind that, at least for the aesthetic of my jewelry. So Paul's talking about titanium, grade 2 titanium. Those are so good. What are you talking about, Sarah? I want to know. I'm sorry, I'm just catching up, you guys. Oh, beautiful work, Paul. Thanks. Oh, thanks. You guys must have been talking about my little birdies, I hope. Or maybe you were talking about the jars of dirt. If you were talking about my work, thank you. This has been really hard. This deep engraving, which doesn't look that deep, but oh my goodness gracious, you guys, it's so much work to get this kind of depth in engraving. A lot of cutting, carving away. Aluminum, Sarah does like aluminum, goodness. Okay, wait, hold on, I'm jumping around. Beyond This Place says, what metal and tools do you recommend for a beginner? Beyond This Place, can you clarify, are you meaning for just metalsmithing in general, jewelry making in general, engraving? Tell me. Sarah says aluminum. Wow, really? I took my first class, I learned engraving on aluminum, and so many people were in horror when I told them that because they say it's gummy. Sarah says, are you going to ink or patina the relief you just showed us when you are done? I don't know, you tell me. So what I plan to do, excuse me, guys. What I plan to do is go into the background and do the little, what's it called? Naganishi? That's not right. No. There's a technique that is Japanese for fish egg, and it's a pattern that, you've seen in the Suba and armor and things like that, where it's teeny, tiny little dots, raised dots in the background. That's what I'm planning to do in the background here. And that'll bring a lot of depth and darkness to the background. But I don't know if I should patina it or not. I always think I don't want to patina when I'm at a stage like this. Even when I finish a piece, I always want to leave it the beautiful, bright silver. But in the end, I always give in and I patina, and I'm always glad I did. But I don't know. It's just there's something so pretty about the brightness of just plain silver, I don't know. So you guys tell me, what do y'all think? When I'm done with this, should I patinate or just experiment with some burnishing and some matte finishes to just kind of kind of explore that. I don't know. Can't decide. Let's see. Protect-A-Clear. Thank you. Thank you, Diane. Protect-A-Clear is the spray that works pretty well for sealing brass. I see Farmhouse Joys joined a little while ago. If you're still here, Farmhouse, hello. Michael says, if you want another question, do you use 3M radial discs to finish, or I'm at the point of investing in my first set of finishing tools and pulling my hair out with research? That's tough, you know? So I can tell you what I do. I have a series of things. I do use the 3M radial discs. I never go all the way up. I stop at, I guess, like a 320 equivalent grit. And I also use the 3M polishing papers a lot. I love this stuff. You can see the last thing I was working on was brass. But you can get these in several different grits, and I like to just go in little circles with the gray paper. I think is like 600 grit, and that's usually where I stop because I really don't do high shine. So yeah, the 3M discs are great, and maybe I can take you guys off of I'll try to take you off of here. I don't know if we're going to get kicked off, by the way, either. I don't know what the cutoff amount of time is that you can be on Instagram Live. So if we get cut off, I'll apologize now. So yeah, I have, oh my goodness. I've gone rogue. I told myself I wasn't going to do this and take the camera off the mount, but yeah, so these guys, I've got a whole bunch of these. Like I said, I never go up to the peach, or I think it's like the mint color. I never go up to those. I also like these. These are, the brand is EVE. I really like these. I like these more than the Dedeco. I don't know why. They just seem a little bit more refined. But yeah, I mean, it's like when you're starting out, you kind of need a little bit of everything, and it is frustrating. You can hand finish with nail files, you know. I do a lot of that, or sandpaper. So, you know, I mean, there are economical ways that you can set yourself up for finishing. You can also get these inexpensive Moore's sanding discs. I have a ton of those. These guys, this is what I used to use a lot. Oh, that's a separating disc. My bad. You know, these little sanding discs that you put on a screw mandrel and you use in your flex shaft. So I used to use these a lot. I don't use them as much as I used to. I just like hand finishing things. So I use nail files and needle files and stuff. Speaking of files, don't forget the discount code. It's called, what is it? It's Rio Files 10% off files on Rio. But yeah, you know, you just end up collecting a bunch of this stuff over the years, but these are pretty inexpensive. These little sanding discs are pretty inexpensive, but if you're really on a budget, you can hand finish. You know, you don't have to use power tools at all if you don't want to. Let's see. Let's see. Gail Dowell says, what is the material that is holding your bird engraving to the block? Well, it just so happens, I know that SP Hand Engraving is on the call, is on the chat. It's hot glue, and he's the one who taught me about using hot glue for this. So what I do is I'll just melt some hot glue onto this is a walnut block that I got from a wood carving place, people that whittle and things. And I just melt a layer on at first and kind of spread it out with a tongue depressor. And then you just reuse it over and over and over and over again. I reheat it with a heat gun each time I need to reset something. The back of this has painter's tape on it, and the painter's tape helps it pop out pretty easily of the hot glue. You can kind of pop it off by prying a little corner. I know Paul Lowe likes to put it in the freezer and it'll pop right off. But yeah, that's it. I like it a lot more than Thermolock. It's just unfussy and inexpensive and easy to use. So yeah, that's hot glue. Cool little trick, huh? You're welcome. Let's see. Carrie's, do you hand sharpen your gravers or... Yes, both. I hand sharpen, and I also have this little Andu mini hone, and it's super, super low power. So if you're sharpening huge gravers, this is probably not the tool for you, but most of my gravers are... See if I can show you. Most of my gravers are these little tiny guys. And it doesn't take much energy to sharpen these. So on that little power hone, it just zip and it goes real fast. And then I use the Lindsay sharpening system. Oh my gosh. Look, you guys, I'm getting tangled up in my scope. Hold on. Okay. So the Lindsay sharpening system, it's kind of complicated to explain, but they're these little plastic templates that you mount the graver in, and you can use it either by hand. As you can see, I also sharpen by hand. It just depends on what I'm doing, how much material I need to remove. You can use these sharpening stones with it, or you can use a power hone. And those little templates just make it really easy to get the geometry right for your gravers. So, Mafalda says, I have to leave. Teresa, thank you for opening your world to us. Love your work. Big fan. Thank you, Mafalda. That's very sweet of you to say. Thank you for being here. You're welcome, Carrie's Edinburgh. All right, gang. Well, this has been super fun. I'm working on a whole bunch of stuff right now, and it's a little out of control. I need to rein this in. But I'm working on these really fun little, oh gosh, it's so hard to show you these. Polaroid lift on mica. This is just a little something I haven't seen anyone do before on mica, but I'm going around my house taking these photos of my unmade bed and things like that, and doing Polaroid lifts on mica, and then I'm planning to layer it and engrave the mica to go with my poetry. So that's what I'm working on right now. Like, this is from my living room. Polaroid lifts are really fun and cool. So that's been neat. And then I also have some that are, that I'm painting on, and scribing on. It's been fun, but it's a whole other sort of body of work that's completely new, and it's taking me a hot minute to sort of figure out how to, I don't even know what the settings are going to look like. I haven't got a clue. I'm working with materials that I'm not familiar with. But I just love these. If you can see this, this is upside down. Yeah, this is like a, sorry, you guys. This is gotta be not great content. Sorry. These Polaroids are of like my bedroom door and the entryway into my bathroom. And I'm working on a series of these that will reflect a poem that I wrote about living alone after your family is gone and or loved ones have passed and how that feels. And so I'm using these Polaroids to kind of capture this melancholy. And it's been really, really fun. Like I could spend weeks just doing these Polaroid lifts because it's so much fun. But anyway, that's like what is on my bench now. And I got kind of stuck on how to set these. You can see these ridiculous experiments that I'm working on. Yes, folks, this is the work of a professional right here. But I'm trying to figure out how to layer the mica in ways that leaves some distance between. So I'm going to be using these like little tubes that I cut to try to space out layers of mica to get this sort of interesting depth. Anyway, that's the madness that's going on over here. And because I got stuck on that, I just got frustrated and I decided to engrave again, because engraving, you can just sort of zone out and get lost in the process. And I kind of felt like I needed to do that because I was getting stuck with the new body of work with the Polaroid lifts and stuff. So I'll come back to it very soon. But, you know, for now, I just needed a little break, work on something else. So, all right, friends. Well, I don't see any other questions. So nice to see you all. I appreciate you all being here. You're so kind to give me so much of your time on a Sunday afternoon is what it is for me. Wherever and whenever you are, I appreciate you. So thank you. I'll just wrap up by saying one more time, get yourself some new files, add some files to your bench. And if you buy the Friedrich Dick files from Rio Grande, you can save 10% right now with the code. Why can't I remember this code, you guys? Rio Files 10, RIOFILES 10, and you can get a super good deal right now if you want to expand your collection of files. So guys, I am going to sign off. You are all lovely. I'm so grateful for you. And if you're just joining, I'm sorry, I'm about to sign off, but I do want to tell you that I will be posting this video on my Instagram afterwards. So if you missed it, you'll be able to come back and watch the rest of it. So thank you all so much for being here. Appreciate you. Let's do this again. This is fun. You guys are the best. All right, thanks guys. Thank you.